Yes.
Ready?
He is.
And you can go live. All right. Looks like we are live. Welcome back, everybody. How's Sam today?
Yeah, you know. A little
Sick?
bit.
All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
still. Well, I still am, progressively. Whatevering. Yes, hello. I'm here.
Sorry we started late. Had to happen.
Well, it wasn't late. It was on time. We just started later.
Yes.
We were on time, actually. Yes. That's okay.
Oh, absolutely right on time. Wow. I'm impressed. All right. Welcome back, everybody. We're here today to talk about episode 8. Under the Cloak of War.
With not a single cloaking or decloaking ship. As you have mentioned previously.
I think it's more of a... Yeah. More to it than that. Under the Cloak of War, a lot of things, weird things happen that nobody knows about, like the Butcher of Jagal being not the general. So, hey.
Spoilers? Jesus.
Oh, shit.
That's the one twist the episode, shit.
All right, well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This has been great. If everybody could just dump in like $200 super chats right now, would be awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yes, episode 8, we've done 6, 7, and 8 in the last 7 days.
Yeah.
Which is hard to express how that feels. We've never had that before. So that's been a hell of a thing. And then only 2 left, all of a sudden. And then Lower Decks, of course, September 8th, which is very exciting.
September 7th, not 8th.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Obviously, in fairness, it'll be 8th on my time zone by the time it comes out.
Sure.
So we are actually both right, Stuart.
Sure.
It's like it's technically September 9th in Australia. and maybe 6th in some part of some country. No, not quite. Yeah, I'm going to start a poll before I want to see what people think. Guess in.
Yeah. Well, guys, hit that like button. 30 of you here. Awesome. 24 likes. Again, awesome. But we can do better. So hit that like button if you haven't already. He will have a poll up here in just a second. And then sooner or later, we'll get into the episode. But welcome back, guys. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good week. And yeah, looking forward to chatting about Trek as usual. This is what we do. And I think we do it well. And I think most of you showing up and being here all the time kind of says the same thing. So we appreciate you guys. 24 likes still. 6 more likes to get to 30. I'm going to set the goal for 50, though. Let's do it. Blood wine, yes. Yes, Ozzy. Lots of blood wine should be consumed.
All right.
Ooh, we got a poll. Do you enjoy hardcore war episodes? Yes, love them. Good drama. They're okay. All part of Trek. Don't love the hardcore war episodes or want peaceful Trek only.
And by Stuart, they're 18 minutes in, they've got 280 left. And it's still 1,300 in 18 minutes.
Wow.
Yep.
I should maybe grab one. Oh, well.
You got maybe 3 minutes left. That's okay. You can always see mine. Yes! Vote in the poll. I genuinely know what you guys think. Because, before we get into the big thing, I have found that this episode, don't know if you agree, Stuart, but the reaction has been more, if you don't like it, those that like it feel the need to call you out more than the average episode. So I feel like more attacked for being less than 10 out of 10 for it. How do you feel about that, Stuart?
I would agree. I think it's a little bit... Well, like I said, going into this one when we first did our other review, is it's very much more focused and centered and made for veterans that have been in war situations. But as we both kind of say, I don't think the wars of Trek, ground wars, would be like this. So, yeah, it's kind of that if you've never been in a war, you don't understand. That's why you don't like it. That's kind of the vibe that I get from people, and it just kind of bothers me a bit because that's not quite what we're saying. It's just not as enjoyable.
Yeah,
so.
And, the caveats we're going to have, still some great stuff in it, as always, but I just find myself intrigued that some people find the need to go very over the top with this one. I mean, there's the odd one, but if we if we love an episode, we don't tend to tell people who don't like it they're wrong. We're not like that when ones we love. So some just get people riled up, and this one seems to have got those that love it, a bit more impassioned than they normally are. That's okay. Yeah. So here's a fleet video, Stuart, and you can talk about the fleet video.
Yay, it's our fleet video where you guys are all part of the crews of these ships. You get to see what ship you're serving on. That's awesome. And you guys, if you're not a member already, can be one by clicking that join button or heading on over to Patreon/Trekyards and joining that way. You get a rank, you get assigned a ship, and you get to see your name in the end of all of our videos. Just as a thank you for supporting us. We really appreciate it. So check out the join button, check out the Patreon, see if there's any way you want to support us on a monthly basis. We'd really appreciate that, of course. And, you know, you get to be part of this Trekyards fleet. So kind of works out for everybody. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Don't forget to click the bell notification icon to all. And by all means, check out the links down below to Teespring, TeePublic. We got a lot of cool Trekyards merchandise. And if you can help us out by buying a t-shirt or a hoodie, we'd really appreciate that also. There's some good stuff down there. So, all right. And just hitting like I said, we're now 28 likes, which is better, but 48 people here, 29 likes now. Hit that like button. I want to get up to 50 likes. If you have not hit like, please do so. Matthew DeFrida says, all art is subjective. I absolutely love this episode. Best episode this season. Oof. All right, cool. That I strongly disagree with, but, you know, again, subjective, as you said, so. Let's see. Yes, Ozzy. That's all unfair to vets. Vets don't necessarily support the killing. I'm aware of that, yeah. I think it would almost make them feel worse to have to, like, go through the PTSD of having to watch this. So, yeah, anyway. It's a little bit of a touchy subject, so. Anyhow, we appreciate all you guys being here, so please super chat in, help us out. We want to read your comments, questions. If you feel very passionate about this episode, like I said, please super chat in. We do read them all on the air, so you get your name and your voice out there, and we want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. So help us out if you can. We appreciate it.
Say your piece. Your 2-piece, your 3-piece, your cents, your dollars, your rupees, I'm just using the metaphor.
Your krona.
Yes. Yeah. Cronenbergs. That's a thing. Is that Breaking Bad? Is he Cronenberg? No, Heisenberg.
Heisenberg.
Haven't seen it yet, but I will. And that's our flip. There we go. I was vamping. Hey! Hi, Stu.
Hello.
So yeah, vote in the poll. And of course then the big question. And, as I tend to preface, we watch it first time, then we talk about it. How was it in second viewing, given there's a big twist at the end? How do you feel now, having watched it, absorbed it, thought about it, been in your brain for it? What do you think?
It wasn't more enjoyable the second time. There are some questions raised at the end as to what exactly happened, but I don't know how I feel about what it does to Mbanga's character.
It's okay, I'm a fan. Hope you're okay.
What's that? Sorry?
As I like a fan, he was, saying things. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one that I've seen 3 times now, and that's enough. Like, I don't think I'll ever seek this one out to rewatch it. It's that personal enjoyment factor, right? Which we have the scoring at the end that includes that, so it'll be interesting to see where this falls. But I think the Klingon Ra did a good job. He was, I think, genuine about wanting to help and change, but then using what Mbenga did and claiming that was him and just gave him leverage for what he was doing was an interesting take on things. And yeah, there's a lot of nuance here. I wish there would have been more Artigas in this episode. We know that she's a war hero. I thought it would have focused a little more on her feelings and not been an Mbenga-centric episode. But I do like the way it ends as well with the bio bed. Some things never get fixed, never go back to normal. And can fail at any point. It's kind of take on his mental, mental state, if you will. He could snap at any time, I guess. But anyway, yeah, it's fine. It's a good, well-written episode, good war episode for sure. Like I said, it gave me MASH vibes. Gave a lot of people MASH vibes, or China
Which I've
Beach.
not seen, so I apologize. My eyes glazed over when you said that because I've never seen it.
Yeah, or China Beach, just like war hospital vibes. And a lot of things in this were very MASH-like. MASH was one of those shows that rode the line between being comedic and then being super serious, and then some episodes were a good mix of both. And the whole kid, that had his heart massaged, wanting to go back out, and being young and brash and thinking that you're invincible as a kid, and Mbenga knowing that he's pretty much not coming back. It's a little bit impactful for sure, but yeah, it's just one of the super entertaining for me. But there you go. What are your thoughts on that?
Scottish Nightmare. Have you seen Red Dwarf? It's iconic. Some would say more. Many would say more. So I think it is better on second watch, because I think once you understand the real plot, you can actually appreciate the scenes more. As in the biggest part of the episode really is the reveal. I do think it's the reveal at the end. It's that this Klingon lied about who he was, what he did to get the fame and clout, the cushy jobs, the Raktajino, and if you, I'm sorry, let's come to the end there, but that's what I took away from the second viewing. If he's willing to lie about the thing, and allow himself to become this town butcher of his race, then he's not a stable character, and can he be trusted in the grand scheme? Also ever need to curry favour, etc. So that certainly changed the vibe entirely. The second time, knowing, watching Mbenga try to call out his bullshit was interesting, and keeping it super low to the. So that was a good second watch for sure, knowing the twist. But it's sad because apart from that, the guy's great. The guy acting was great. I did love the Pike and Mbenga at the end. Is it right? He killed kids. Can you let him go? Well, he's doing good things. Yeah, but he's paid for it. Well, ends justify means. Needs the one, needs the many. All that jazz. And Mbenga thought killing him was best at the end of the day. Fine, maybe, but you have no idea what positives this guy was doing in the grand scheme. They kept pointing out his achievements, right? Kept doing things, and he seemed jovial. I mean, not to obviously. They show, I think it's much more intentional. They show two Klingonisms that he could have rose to the classic Worf Kern challenge. Burning his hand, he didn't try and punch Spock. He was very gracious about it, to the point of un-Klingon-like in the most average Klingon sense. And then sparring with Mbenga did not hurt him. Could have, didn't push it very far. Again, these are un-Klingonisms for the general. Standard bog standard Klingon. So showing he's not one of the other ones. It would have been sort of interesting though if the double twist at the end, because him being an actual general and the leader of a house does imply he got to the top ranks of the society, and he would not be in that place without being a pretty brutal, successful warrior, right? Long time to get to that point. And given that he did not choose to kill his own troops because they're killing children, there's no reason why he fled to the Federation. Like, he fled a guy attacking them, and then I guess the dishonor was too much. He couldn't go. Then you wonder, well, was he just a janitor? That classic trope of, was he really Bob the wind wiper? They didn't know what the general looked like, so he took his identity, and that's why he's the coward of. But no, he was the real general, war hero, war masochist, whatever. But then just ran. The ending's a bit odd in that way. Trying to work out, is he doing good, is he doing bad, blah blah. I still think he's doing good, but it gets a bit complicated with if you break it down. I think the UCLD wall was great, considering that was the I'm sure they were pushing the tents to the edge of the set. It felt the size of the set. So considering that, well done them, because it's very successful. And, no green screen. It's cool. I mean, everything was filmed in camera. Amazing. I kind of wish they'd somehow made Chapel look a bit younger in the war sections, because
it wasn't that long ago. Though,
it wasn't exactly. So it's that's the problem. It's like, wow, this war that was like an 8-month war. Yeah. and it was fun to see the distillation, the alternates between the Pike, charming, positive. I look for the best of the Federation because I didn't have that war. He's never been in a war, and then just anybody on the ground not being able to deal with it. Now, Ortega's was that interesting middle because she was piloting in the war, but she wasn't physically down there experiencing it. So 3 gradients of existence. If you're not there, you can't know. But if you look on the outer edges of the idea, then of course he should be kept alive. Of course this clone should be used to help where possible. I was in the war, but I understand. It's like, well, no, you don't. But there wasn't much in the episode beyond that. I mean, it was a very straightforward, linear story. Even with the dips in, they were also extremely linear. They introduced a character, the characters follow, the character then died. Like it's extremely simple. Like if we had reviewed it sort of organically, like just as a reviewer, you could probably review it in 3 or 4 minutes, right? Like there's not that much to talk about. Because it's just good dialogue and good actors acting the same sort of idea for an hour. So it's a interesting one in that regard.
Yeah.
But all credit to them for not even acknowledging Discovery Klingons, nor Discovery uniforms, or Discovery ships. I know they're all canon, but best not. I just think that's just very bold of them to do, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
All right, very good. Very good. Like I said, we want to hear what you guys have to say about this episode. Matthew DeFrida said it was his favorite, best of the season so far. So there's lots of different opinions on it. So please super chat in, let us know your thoughts. We do read them all, and we want you guys to kind of lead our conversation and help us out with that. So please do so, because we might not understand or describe what you found passionate.
I mean, it's not hard to understand.
I understand this.
It's a very structurally easy to understand story. You can't feel it in the same way, but you can understand it. It's not a deep story in that regard. I mean, they very well put it out on the screen. You see every part of his feeling. I mean, even Joseph starts not being the guy that he's actively choosing not to fight, and you see the journey from not fighting to fighting. It's very, very in your face, in a subtle way. as silly as that says, it's very obvious and yet very well told. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the acting and the writing was really good for this one. So,
but I wish spaceships. I mean, they don't even try to acknowledge that Trek Wars are space wars, because it's hard to relate to this sort of Trek combat when if you just put this on Wednesday night at 4, called Battlestar Now. You're like, okay, those scenes are from a show. Oh, they happen to be in the same sort of costumes. Like it doesn't. The war bits are very un-Trek. In the actual, those respects.
Yeah, Scottish Nightmare, I was just about to say, tune in for this episode of Macho Grande. Yeah. Well, let's get into it and start talking about it.
Got a new ship. We got a new ship.
We did. USS nice. Kelsey May.
It's weird. It's nice.
We have a video coming out about it, so check that out. It's nice. But they're there to pick up a special guest. He's a Klingon.
He is.
And he is Ambassador Dag-Ra. There we go. He
House of many things.
Yeah.
Because he
asked about he asked about the boatswain whistle, and it's an old Earth custom, naval thing, ships at sea, and it's become a little bit of a tradition on Enterprise. Just on Enterprise, though, apparently. I hate that line. I think it would just be a tradition in Starfleet, but they're kind of establishing it's becoming a tradition on Enterprise.
I mean, you can take it either way. I don't think it's that explicit. I think it probably more of a tradition where you can use it. It's on every ship, but he likes making it sort of every time. So it's become a tradition they always use on Enterprise versus you can bring it out whenever you want. Because it's an anachronistic thing, but they like the formality. I took it as that.
And I gotta say, the Klingon makeup and attire for this guy is really cool.
It's great.
It still feels Klingon what he's wearing, but yet not the militaristic vibe. So that's cool. And I think he does a great job in the role.
And it's definitely not the traditional Klingon vibe, while still being the traditional Klingon vibe.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, if this had been a purple crevasse, if it was like it's a weird looking Klingon, right? But it looks great. I buy it.
Yeah.
Cool.
He does ask for a tour of the ship.
How old is he? Because Worf went full grey. Yeah. This guy got to the head of a house and then some. And this guy is almost full black. His hair. So, I know the Joker's Worf went grey early, but like I feel like this guy's older than Worf. The actor probably isn't, but I feel like the character probably is.
But he asked for a tour of the ship, which kind of raises La'an's eyebrow a little bit. Is he just trying to get some intel? This is like the flagship, right? So, and that comes up at least one other time in the episode as well, where Ortegas thinks that he's lying about things. So, nice start to the episode. At least we know what's going on, and yeah.
And definitely, they leave out many possible story plots. Is he a spy? Is this whole episode going to be him saying, "Oh, I'd love to look at the shuttle, but oh, look at is that a Type 74? How fast did they go?" So they, there's nice little things, but when you know he's genuine, it all comes across quite quaint the second time. Like he's like, "I've heard really good things. I just want to see the ship. Like, show me the good." Like it's more sweet the second time because he's just some guy, right? He just wants a tour.
Yeah.
And then you get the good stuff on the bridge.
Let me get the hear all the accords and stuff that he's done, and Ortega's like, that's great and all, but he's still a Klingon. Trust me, there's a reason he's called the Butcher of Jagal. And right as they walk in, it's like, he's behind me, isn't he? It's something her character would say. I kind of expected it a little bit, but and then Captain on the bridge. It's like, oof. Everybody overheard her too, you can tell. But anyway. Well, he smiles. Oh, sorry.
Well, that's what I meant about. That's what I said in the review about the class. This guy, if he heard it, and then within about 5 seconds goes to a grin, laughs off. That's some real steely balls on him to be able to do that, because he plays off so like an ambassador, as he should. I'm not, you obviously feel for Ortegas, but she is being the same racist that Bounce Terror guy was.
Yeah.
Like there's no she's being racist right now, but also you can relate to her, but she clearly is, or speciesist, right? He's a Klingon because he's a Klingon.
Yeah.
But it does happen, right? If you thought you saw how barbaric they can be, he's like, oh yeah.
Oliver Lavery Frog throws in £5. Thank you so much. First super chat of the day. Thank you. It's a little known fact that prune juice makes Klingons go grey. There you go. That's a side effect of the prune juice. I like it.
Oh, if Terry made that canon, that would be brilliant. That'd be hilarious.
But he loves the bridge. He says it's so nice. Bird of Preys aren't designed to see things like this, and they'll never admit it, but the Federation ships are better than Klingon ships. I love that. And then he goes and compliments Ortegas by saying it must be in good hands, which is great. And then Ortegas unfortunately gets a look from number one, and a very disappointed dad look from Pike as he walks by.
Of all the times,
in
the 3 seconds he comes in,
yeah.
But it's a good little scene. It's everyone's doing their job as much as they can.
Yeah, it's great.
And Federation better ships, said by Klingon himself. Ha! Good. And you get a rather quaint little scene that I appreciate their attempt at doing some things, because this is Rattagino in the correct cup from DS9. Also, Rattagino, the correct drink from all the Treks. Link to Spock's drinking with him in the first season, or first episode, that's great. And the fact that even though, yes, it's being replicated verbatim a la anything else, they use the exact sound effect from TOS. As silly as it sounds in context, in such a fancy looking set. I mean, I appreciate them for kind of saying, well, they must be replicators. Maybe not. We know they have chefs as well. We hear it in dialogue.
Well, but the cool thing is you see the whatever it's made out of go down and disintegrate as it's being created in the other thing.
Oh, shit. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, so it's...
That's
what's replicated out of, and that's the instructions for it.
Oh.
Yes.
I guess. But that was great, and it was a nice hybrid of things. Like just hang a lantern on the idea of what this tech is, and that was a nice way of doing it. But I would hazard to guess, drinks are simple to replicate, right? It's not complicated, especially simple drinks, whatever. So drinks, but the taste is not as good, but it's easier to make. So that's why they value the original drinks on the shelves. Those are real drinks because they're doing fresh stuff or anything, anytime, or at least of a set menu. But it will be 50% as good.
Well, I love how the ambassador shoots down Klingon culture, because Spock's like, I would like to experience more Klingon culture. because Pike had mentioned that he talked to a Klingon captain a little while ago and got this recipe, and he's like, no, they're just warlike. We have no culture. And Spock's like, oh, I'm sorry, touchy subject. He's like, no, it's okay.
I know what they're doing there. I kind of wish he made more of a, each time made more of an actual poetic point rather than a slapdown point, like J.G. Hertz did in the Enterprise episode. He did a graceful, elegant paragraph about culture. This guy just slams it down like he hates Klingons, but he doesn't. But it wasn't quite as elegant as it could have been, but he's blunt, right? He's not trying to be.
Yeah,
that's okay.
And you definitely got vibes that even the musical cue when he burns his hand on the cup, it's like, ooh, it's going to cause problems.
And he takes like such a champ. I mean, everyone handles themselves beautifully. Like, but it's true. Like, ow, but also, that said, we just had a situation where Spock held scolding.
Yeah.
Errol tolerance for pain. It's fine.
Matthew DeFreitas, though, $5. For me, this was the first time in season 2 where I felt depth to a story. Others felt surface level. It reminds me of DS9 or the home episode of season 4 of Enterprise. Yeah, this one had a Battle of AR-5, whatever the number is, DS9 episode for me, which is also one of my least favorite DS9 episodes for multiple reasons, even though it's very well done. It's just not enjoyable to me. So
I would say the Khan episode has lots of depth because it's canon depth and character depth of La'an, and time travel depth and alternate universe depth, and last week's the depth of story and character.
Yeah.
So I'd say those two had lots of depth. Maybe number one didn't, but the Khan and the last one were very depthy episodes. But they go to sick bay and Mbenga's reaction ain't great. I mean, it's not ideal.
Well, he has a panic attack. Seriously, PTSD. Yeah.
Because the first time you watch it, you think, okay, Klingon, he's reacting. But that's not remotely the case. It's a case of, I tried to kill this mother effer 4 years ago. I slaughtered his entire group. I ran after him. He got on a shuttle and left. I was standing in his courtyard with bloody knife, killing 3 other guards before I then beamed away, yelling, General! And
he took the credit for everything I did.
Yeah, like, this works a million times better second time. It's kind of odd the first time, because you don't know the reason, right? But yeah, it's like seeing Khan after Star Trek 2, but he's not dead and he's right in front of you. It's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Well, damn.
George Mangrum, $5.
Hey.
Afternoon all. Was that really Ortegas in the last chat last night? Great episode. Yeah.
Well, the Doctor's here, as you can see, in the chat. People put a thing on there.
It seemed like the actress who plays Ortegas was in our chat last night. She was chatting us up. So
really? What did they say?
And that could be the case. We know Mary Shifo watched our stuff about Klingons during Discovery Season 1.
What did the person say then? Anything of note?
Quite a bit. Go back and watch it.
First half, second half?
It's near the beginning. She's there for quite a while. Anyway,
well, that's cool. I want to meet her. She seems like an interesting lady. In a good way. Like I had to pick her brains.
Well, I even said last night, like, I wish this would have been Ortegas' episode because war hero, and she's kind of more young and brash. You think that she might be more, not as measured as Mbenga. Like he kind of holds back, as the guy says to him later. The veterans on this ship, as well as just the ship crewmates in general, look up to you, kind of. So help me out, right? But anyway,
yes.
Then we get the Moon of Jagal a few years ago. And it's very much like a drop ship kind of vibe where they beam her in. They can't afford to land, so they drop her in. And lots of shooting going on. Oh, we get Clint Howard, of course. Who basically says, hey, you're head nurse now. Cost me a bottle or a crate of Romulan ale, but got you here. And you get the introduction.
Hi, Stuart. Yes.
With no internal organ regenerator.
There's a real knack in this scene, and I appreciate the elegance of conveying speed of story. We've got to keep going. Expressing how basic and underfunded we are, while still having the people in charge have to keep their spirits up because everyone under them has to work all the time. So like there's so many layers to this, and like, right, gotta keep going, yep, let's do it. Like he's coping by just being not positive, but like, let's push forward. So I love the vibe here of just is a fun thing. I you know, as he says in a minute, you know, well I worked hard to get you here because I just need some medic, some experience. I basically bribed to get you here, just somebody.
Yeah. And if you can't find me, talk to Joseph. He's the next one in charge, basically.
I kind of wish we saw any of Clint Howard besides the scene, like doing some doctoring, because he is the essence of a cameo. I mean, it's a scene, but he disappears. And he's...
That's funny, because in DS9 he was invisible.
Because, you know, he's the chief doctor. That would have been perfect to have him integrated more in the dialogue to present even more. And Benga feels like the chief doctor instantly.
Yeah. It was even cool with seeing Mbenga taking a bath outside. Again, very reminiscent of MASH, or sitting in the bathtub with the martini glass.
Must be a reference then, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why I said it, because it's serious MASH vibes. But yeah, and then we get the incoming choppers from MASH, the incoming transport of people just beaming in, just injured, wounded people. Everybody has to scramble. Incoming transport keeps blurring away, which would get quite disconcerting after a while as a doctor. So
yeah, and again, that's another little... Whoever had that idea was genius, creating the simplest phrase to become a siren call of despair and pain. And I was kind of expecting that to appear later in the episode as like a PTSD trigger for, you know, I don't know how they'd factor it in, but something in the main episode. And I quite like the little honeycomb as well for the transporter. It's a bit weird, because I think what they're trying to show is that the only way we can make a big pad is by putting together small pads. There's no distinct pad. Yeah. We can't make big pads, but we can just shove pads together to make a pad that mostly works. So I kind of like that vibe, and it's a fun art design. And yeah, this guy, obviously the first war person we see, pays off later, and Benga pretty cold. And again, the second time I noticed, he always says let him die. The first time he's like, let's get him off the pad, because he does that twice.
Well, it doesn't say let him die. He wants him off the pad so they can help other people that are incoming.
Which he will die in the meantime, and he knows that. Like that's the coldness he gives. He just knows he can't be here. Other people need to save, so he does the thing later on.
That's triage. You take care of the people you can heal, and the ones that you can't, you got to shuffle them off.
But he would die.
I do like the transporter buffer thing, though. Because at this point, he's probably already doing that with his daughter, or thinking about it.
Oh, interesting. Well, if anything, this gave the idea for that. Yeah, that's...
Or that. Yeah.
Oh, dude, hey, way to call back season 1.
Yeah,
dude, that's epic.
But putting him in a transporter buffer is the same as putting him on like life support, or like inducing a coma. We'll take care of it later, which again pays off later in the episode, which is cool. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very much the triage vibe. You help who you can, and everybody that's too bad. Like, that's one of the problems with triage. Like, you could probably help them in the long term, but you can't, because there's just so many people coming in that you can actually help, right? And the fact that they didn't have an organ regeneration unit is interesting. Like, that would solve a lot of the problems here, but you know, they're taking away that future tech that makes it more seem grounded in reality. So,
well, not just that, but they're so reliant on the simple organ rejuvenation tech. Like, they play it off as, oh, of course. But of course, without that, they're so reliant on the cool stuff that they don't while they're not incapable of doing stuff, they just can't heal like they used to, you know. Several times I've just seen them just walk in, your broken nose healed. That's how many weeks to heal a broken nose, and it might be better in shape. So I do like the quick juxtaposition here, because they can't get too dark. I say that they're about to pump some guy's heart, but they never show it graphically. Like, it sounds graphic, but it's super non-graphic. So there's a really fine balance of not actually going into the X-rated graphic, because they could push this so much further, and they stay on that line. Actually, a few steps below, I think, to keep it kind of moving and yeah.
Well, the next scene, he's fixing Biobed 2 because it's down again, ever since the Gorn attack in Amphibious 3. So we are hearing about Gorn attacks. We're just not seeing any of them, which means the Gorn are a bit of a problem somewhere. This is where Pike comes in to basically check on them, but also get Dalton parsley, which is deadly in large amounts and very tasty in small amounts for the dinner. And basically asks him and Chapel if they'd be able to come to the dinner and have FaceTime with the ambassador, because it's really important to the higher-ups. So yeah, there's a minor protest. He says apparently there was a minor protest during his last transport. So we have direct orders that Klingon war veterans need to interact with him to kind of show the good face of Starfleet, as Mbenga puts it later, which is great.
Yeah, this is a really charming scene, actually. The excuse, yet the reality of the excuse, the parsley, is so clever, and it, boy, giving Pike a cooking background was such an odd left field turn, but they are exploiting it so hard in charming ways, right?
Yeah,
it's fun, and I love. I mean, he is so good in this role. I mean, the tact, the charm and tact of this conversation is so well executed by everybody. The whole cast, like, I don't know how many takes it would take because it's so good. Because of course, yeah, he's asking a big deal, but you got an out. Just say it.
Mm-hmm.
They all don't want to let each other down, but they all know they kind of have to. And they all do, right? Well, they do it for a long time. It's just the after dinner drinks bit that kind of goes to pot.
And the segue is great here because Chapel says to him, "We don't have to do this." It's like, no, Chris needs us, and he grips the thing on the desk like really hard, and she's like, "We got this," and that sends a flashback immediately to the trauma unit, where it's like, "We got this," and it's you got to massage open heart, massage the heart, right? So that was kind of cool, actually. I like the way that played out. And it is kind of graphic. It's a lot of blood on the hands and stuff, very much like MASH again. But yeah.
But they don't linger.
No, they don't.
Everything is like, you know it, but it's not Klingon sex in season 1 or shooting each ebb and watching it. Like it's the correct amount of, you get it, but it doesn't hit you in the same way. And you kind of, these sort of scenes, you're like, oh, they're just in the parking lot. You know, the equivalent of the soundstage with just a tent around them. Like it's that fun little cheap filmmaking that's effective, where what they're doing is so powerful, but really it's this little set. But you know, seeing how these guys meet, we knew they were good in season 1, but I mean, you'll never not bond them from this. You know, this is you get why they're the team, right? I could kind of see them doing an episode in seasons 3, 4, or 5, whatever, where they like take over the ship or something. They're able to be convinced between the two that some has to change, and they just kind of go on strike, but like in a take over the ship kind of way. They're that bonded forever. I think I buy that.
I have a feeling too they leave the Enterprise at the same time, because Chapel's not around instantly in TOS. And Mbenga just shows up. I don't even know what season he's in, honestly. He's in a few episodes, just a minor part. So I have a feeling that those two leave together for some reason. So yeah, I love that they're establishing that now. That's good.
And then you get what promised to be Ortega's part of the episode, and it is, and she does a great job in what little she's given.
Yeah.
And shockingly charming, as in, you could play this for the darkness, but she's trying to cope in a fun, interesting way. You know, there's a good vibe here of like, it's hard, but she knows she's going to have to do it anyway, and there's professionalism, and Mbenga, who we know is this like torn up shred of a man, is comforting her, which helps him obviously. It's a really nicely, on second watch it works better because you know what he's really feeling. This plays like a really like professional, right? What a really, really professional guy.
Yeah.
You know.
And the promise of jambalaya made with Dalton parsley. Come on now.
Yeah.
She's like, we just got to pretend for one night that the war doesn't bother us anymore.
Hard ask. But
on the Starfleet face, it's a good face. Yeah, I like that line.
You don't have to say anything during dinner, right? Like, it's not as if you have to. You can be annoyingly quiet, but as long as you're there, the point is to be there, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing jambalaya is a Cisco reference, because I know his dad was famous for jambalaya. I think.
Maybe, yeah.
I think it was. We don't get to see him eat it, which is sad. And again, I love the contrast here. The 3 fresh-faced people, genuine smiles, genuine laughs. They see him for who he is here, and it's really fresh and light. And Uhura, who you'd think might be quite judgy because she feels things really strongly, right? She doesn't have a personal stake in this. She's just enjoying the stories, interested about she's learning. This then contrasts so well because of course you can't. They were doing exploration. They're still who they were. So I do like that a lot. Like it's all genuine, right? Everyone's genuine.
Yep.
Oh dear.
And Captain Jenkins throws in $5. Thank you so much. Isn't the Gorn supposed to be the big bad of the season? I mean, that's what we were kind of led to believe. I think the last episode might be Gorn related at this point.
It was a little bit of trailer. I'm really happy they're not in it yet. It's episode 8 though, and 9's musical. That'll be one episode of the season.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be great. And that might be like an alternate universe as well. Screw it. We're three times alternating it.
I love how Spock changes the direction of the conversation to the point where the ambassador's like, "That is a great topic of conversation, Mr. Spock."
Yeah.
Comparing their teachings to the art of war by Sun Tzu.
Yeah.
That was great, just to help out Chapel because you can't stand to see her kind of torn up inside.
And this is such an interesting interplay because for me, and you guys tell me if you think I'm right or not, I think he took what I said last week to heart. He felt super Spock, super in control, super refined, super simple, the Spock we know. Very, because I kept thinking there were things he could do if he was in a more human state, holding her hand. I thought he was going to do the physical touch, or say something to make her whatever. He was so classically, stoically Spock. Now, she wasn't responding poorly to that. It was just, get out of my face, it's not you, it's me. But Spock, now pulling back from the emotions, isn't seeing it. He's just seeing, you are in pain, logically, I am one of the few people who can help. And I appreciate this scene he does. Great, like I said, great way of doing it, really clever, and interesting as well. Just interesting as a concept. But he's trying. He's trying so hard in such a Spock way here. I really like that.
Yeah.
And then a double. Everyone has a double.
Yeah. And on the previously on, we did hear the part where Ortega says, Spock, sometimes you just need to learn to leave people alone. Yeah. Which applies later to this episode. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then we get the conversation with the young man who had his heart massaged. He was from New Angeles, which is on Terra Luna, which is the moon.
Yeah.
And they mentioned the shipyards there, which is cool. And I love Mbang's bedside manner. When I come back, I want to hear more about the moon. That was really great.
Yeah, which is doubly great because of course he's still trying to be the good guy, and you see him at high ground, and then you feel the fall even further. But please read the stats of the Stanleys. It's a really clever comment.
The Stanleys?
Yes.
Could end in a cliffhanger.
One after that.
Oh, you've not experienced Sun Tzu? So you've read it in the original Klingon.
Very good.
That's great.
Very good.
Yes.
No, this is a good little scene. I've thought about the second scene later on, but this is nice. It's simple. The fact that the guy clearly didn't know his heart was felt, and yet he guessed it. It's just... But he's alive, right? And they definitely imply some more things, because he does say, they kept me alive to torture me, some variation of that. So it's super one-liner move on, but it's like, damn, what happened? How did he escape? Was he rescued? Was a battalion tortured for months, for weeks? Well, not weeks, because he has shaved today.
I thought he was rescued. I think he was rescued by the special ops or the black ops team.
Yeah, I assume so.
Because the Andorian is right there. So.
But there's a story there. But like I say, he's very fresh face shaved. Mm-hmm. So unless he shaved,
and he does. Oh, that's later. Later conversation with him is like, "Why did you join Starfleet to explore?"
Yeah. And
then when he decides to help out, he's like, "Part of my job. I'm a soldier."
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Not. But
hey. As a side note, but it always makes me laugh in film and TV that men don't have a smooth face without daily maintenance. Like, it's impossible. Because it grows
instantly. Like days, you don't even.
Yeah, but if I was next to you, I'd see it. I feel like, and some men goes the 5 o'clock show in hours, right? So anyone like this on film in a battlefield is like he had to shave like that day. I guess Star Trek, you could argue they do something with follicles, but conceptually it's like that actor shaved that morning for this role.
I think the vibe is that he's so young that he doesn't really have facial hair yet, because that happens a lot in MASH as well, because there were a lot of young people that were conscripted to fight.
He didn't
right?
feel that young to me, though. I know what
He
you're
didn't.
saying.
He didn't, but that's what the visual, I think, is
Okay.
subconsciously trying
See, he
to tell
looks
you.
fresh-faced, even if not age-fresh. I get what you mean. I thought he was in his, like, 26, 27, like...
Yeah,
Because it works better for me, I've done this before in my stories, if you know pre-war to feel the darkness of war, versus if you come to the academy straight into war, because it's a short war. But I like this guy, and yeah, sad. And then Andorian shows up, and I vibe TOS Andorian. I know he's got a little bit of the cheekbones of Discovery, but like that is a great update. The hair's big, the antennas are great, like it's not rocket science. He's great. I have nothing bad about this guy, right? Like great makeup.
And their whole conversation is great. It's like, no, is the answer. It's like, we need you. Most confirmed kills, which brings up another question, but anyway. And we hear about the
most
serum they use.
Hand-to-hand kills. That's a whole different ballgame.
We hear about the serum they use. It is called Protocol 12, which is basically adrenaline and pain inhibitors, which Mbunga designed and could make more of, but refuses to. He's like, why even here behind the wire? You could be out there helping us. He's like, I prefer to save lives now instead of take them. But yeah, he's like, my team could use an edge. If you could give me the stuff, that'd be awesome. And he refuses. So I love it. He's looking for help for his team, but it's typical Andorian. Actually, it's a good role for an Andorian to be head of a Black Ops unit. So,
but I appreciate his balance was so fine. He wasn't overly aggressive. He wasn't overly gung ho. For me, he was very much the consummate squad leader who's entirely there to save and help save his team. It wasn't about hurting the Klingons. It was about helping his team. How do you think about that?
I think it was a mix of both, because he does say, we got intel on this one general. He needs to be taken out. That's what he leads with.
But not
he goes
in
on
a
to say,
mean way, in a clinical, like, this will help the war.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also, those Black Op guys are generally like, that's my mission. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability until nothing, just tune everything else out. I could use an edge, though, so give me that Protocol 12.
It's nice not to see the gung-ho war vibe. Because, yeah, if you go for the leader, that might cut the war down time-wise. But that's a strategic thing. That's not necessarily personal. But I liked his vibe for what it is. I was kind of expecting a bigger twist with him. In that, take the vial or do a temp version or something. It's kind of I guess it's just there to kind of, well, it's obviously what it's there for. But it does make you wonder, what if Mbenga had shared? Would the team be alive? Is all the bloods in his hand? I mean, is Mbenga entirely responsible? Maybe. Yes.
That's what I thought the second time around. I was like, what if Mbenga had actually given them this stuff? But yeah, so
it's a weird warfare thing. Is more killing justified to do less killing? And if you don't do something, if you don't do something, might stop something else. Are you to blame? You can only do what you've done, right? But you can't say it's guilt. And they do a good job at making these like 3 perspective characters, which you then like see on those slabs at the end. It's simple, it's tropey, right? it's standard stuff, but it's effective.
Yeah, and the next scene is very warfare concealed, as Khan would say. The diplomacy aspect of things. They're kind of discussing why the Klingon would be serving the Federation, essentially. And he says, well, the Jagal changed me. I took what I did there, and this is where he's taking credit for what Mbanga did. And yeah, it's great to see, because you see Mbanga clenching his armchair, and the first time you're like, why? What's like he's mad at this guy, obviously. A lot of people died because of him, but you don't understand that he's taking credit for everything that Mbanga did and using that as his way into this diplomacy. So it's actually really great. I thought of Khan. Diplomacy is just warfare concealed, Captain. It's like, yeah, essentially. So
yeah, it's a but again, the second time, you can tell he doesn't want to talk about it. He keeps his answers very short because he has nothing to. I mean, he has nothing to give. It doesn't even feel like he's. And this is kind of odd. I don't think he's even invented this elaborate situation to lie about, which it's been 2 years, let's say. He's asked by people. You'd think you'd have this.
That's why later in manga asks him who fought the hardest.
Yeah, and he's shaken. He's entirely taken aback by that. So I like the idea that he's so genuinely ashamed of that day that he doesn't even want to craft something. He entirely deflects and simplifies because, of course, you know, and there's these there's like Big Bang Theory or something. Those sorts of shows where someone who's not very good at lying says, "Let's do a lie," and he comes with this ridiculously elaborate thing as if details make the lie
Sheldon,
more.
Yeah,
as if details make a lie more believable. Now, yes, you ask a second question for one question and lie. I don't know, but you wouldn't think all these things. So there's a psychology there. So I like the way he plays it. Like, you can tell he's like, I'm not talking about it. But it also always bringing it back to the idea of we are here then to learn from it. We are there here to be better.
Yeah,
like that was shit. Now I'm past it. Let's be together. It's
yeah.
Again,
I changed. I want to do better.
He gives good vibes. It's annoying. He's kind of like a Gorkon, honestly, without the spaceship and with a bit more murder. And again, Ortega's good moment. I wish there was more.
The Remain Klingon chance, yeah.
And that I got season 1 flashbacks because that is the pull from season 1, right? That Remain Klingon is what they were chanting. But I appreciate Uhura says the translation is wrong or different, which is an interesting recontext. Like, can you about what they said? Because I found that quite interesting. The different translation vibe.
It's more more simplified as just Remain Klingon. Let's see. She says, Remain Klingon is much easier to say in our language. Yeah, the actual translation is we are Klingon. May we endure.
Because that's far more. That sentiment's more logical. Like, there's nuance to that. So the simplification is the war cry. Yeah, it's good.
I love how he mentions here too, like, I want to help you guys heal like I healed. Yeah. We all can help each other. You never forget the war, but you can move on and bury it, kind of thing. I want to help. He does make the point of saying he wants to help Ortegas and people like her. Like, you guys need help. Not without saying that. And then when she leaves, he says she will find peace in her own way, which I loved. I appreciated that because that was a fantastic line from him.
He's trying. But he's not pushy either. He can't be.
Everybody deals with it differently. And, Chapel goes to see if she needs anything because obviously she doesn't want to be there either. And then we talk about the Ainars and their pacifism. And I love how Pike, like, you might want to go see if they need help to get the hell out of here.
And just loud enough to be heard. Just loud, Doctor, you should go. Just loud enough. That's good. That's very, perfect Pike. But also I love that he mentions the massacre planet, and then Mbenga comes out of his own volition. He says he was there, which starts a chain reaction because he just forced, like, it just comes out, right? He's too, and it's like, oh no.
Jagal changed all of us.
Yes, it did. Oh no. And he's brought into the conversation. He was able to ignore it, and it's like, that's it, right? That his inability to keep it in, because he's like, yes, seriously. Like, he probably said that in his head, and then it came out. Like, you can see the very distinct, like a heartbeat, beep beep beep. You can feel the beeps moments where something big changes in the plot because they're catalyst points. So that's fun. Yeah.
And John Ford Jr. throws in a $50 super chat. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you. Thanks, Senior for us as well, if you can. Because, there you go.
A commendable attempt to try to rehabilitate the Discovery Klingon War to an extent. It was particularly enjoyable to see proper Klingons. However, I do not buy the Klingon would already be diplomat for the Federation. It is quite soon after, but those are little things that you kind of have to overlook a little bit. So,
well, I kind of took it as he ran away from his planet, and then word got out that the people died. He got the blame. His house did the old, but like via radio, and going from house leader to a death warrant out for your life. He goes to the Federation begging for help.
And he does say the Federation was there to help.
Yeah, like begging.
The Federation would.
But to that one admiral that he knows, because you know the other side. And then once he says, "Okay, well, we'll give you asylum," they say, but I can, like, but now he's like a year or two in, he's able to like schmooch his way more vibe-wise, and then build in. So it's just you know, he's that gentle propaganda piece, but he does mean well, which is very important.
And Renatus says, I don't see it as rehabilitation. They showed flashbacks. No, they didn't show flashbacks to Disco Klingons. We got actual Klingons in the flashbacks.
Yeah, they do show last time on Discovery Klingons, and then when we actually saw flashback Klingons, they were actual Klingons. Very interesting video about that coming out on whatever day. Yes. But yeah, good scene. And then, of course, as Mbenga goes, he grabs his hand. And it's a bit tone deaf by the Klingons. Sorry. It's a little bit like, you know, what a move. And the eyes Mbenga makes are so interesting a choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But...
but it's the whole... I hear you're doing full impact Makbara. Would you... He's like, I'll have to check my calendar. It's like, that's a no. But then apparently he decides to do it anyway.
But Doctor, we're heading towards a starbase. No one is injured. You are free.
And as Pike, I love the look on Pike's face. Like, oh shit.
Clean up. This
can't be good.
On aisle.
This is going to end in somebody getting hit right now.
But in the second watch, it's really interesting because, in again, somewhat a beggy way, he really wants to grab that press photo shaking some guy's hand for the newspaper of a war veteran that he's got has been quite high end. So he's actually smooching him to the furthest. He's like, I'll give you a chance to let off some steam with me. Will, you know, as a Klingon, I understand that battle helps you see the other person in a way like it's actually very strategic by him. It's not there's a lot more nuance to that moment because he's only got 2 days on the ship. This is the guy. He can get his picture. Try and, you know, and he's not going to get punched at dinner, let's be honest. So, hell of a play, but I get it more second time. And maybe also, actually, because we know he is somewhat of a coward, that is in the dialogue.
Yes.
Is him grabbing his arm here, in front of everyone, a cowardly move, because he thinks he won't be able to say no in this, or hit him. If he approaches him separately, the punch won't come. So
very likely. I didn't consider that, but yeah.
Strategy, good. Coward. I mean, that in a clever way, right? But that's a play. That's a play.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then you get nonsensical. What are these cannons? Who are they shooting at? There's no ships in orbit. Well, like, there's no ships. What are they shooting at?
Shooting at other ground units. Because they even say we're jamming their sensors, but eventually they'll find us for the camp. So
it's just nonsensical. Lights, generic war imagery. I wish they'd do.
Anyway, we hear the conversation with the kid, which is great. Why'd you join Starfleet? To explore and learn. You know, not the stuff we've been doing lately. Why'd you join? And we hear Mbenga says he joined to find new ways of healing people. There's a lot of different maladies in this universe and lots of different ways that other cultures deal with those. I want to help people. And right now, this war is not for us, but for our families, so we can get back to our families. And we have to be here, unfortunately. It's a good conversation. I love Mbenga's take on it and the way he kind of talks to this kid.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, the tropey by the numbers sort of scene, but you still need it to pay off the end scene. So makes sense. But I'm going to swap the poll though, Stuart. I asked you all the 110 votes. Do you enjoy hardcore war episodes, like Siege of AR, etc.? The winner, and it was neck and neck for a while, is yes, love them. Good drama. 53%. 34%, they're okay. All parts of Trek. 13% don't love the hardcore. And 1%, which is one person, one piece of Trek only. There you go. New poll coming.
That was Gene Roddenberry's Ghost. I'm glad I got a laugh out of you. That's awesome.
It hurts, but you got it.
78 people watching. That's amazing. 63 likes. That's also really good. But I want to get up to 75 likes, guys. Hit that like button.
How many super chats? Throw us a goal right now, Stuart. How many people? How many? Say a number.
Jesus Christ.
3 people. 4 people. Say a number.
4 people to super chat. Any amount. I don't care. There you go. I was just going to get to the super chat part where you guys can put in your insight. I mean, we've got a lot of good insight from John Ford, Captain Jenkins, George Mangrum, Matthew DeFreitas, Oliver Lavray-Farag. You can be a part of that. And if you noticed, I did put a little special heart on John Ford Jr.'s super chat because it was a good point. It's also a good amount. But let's put in a good point. See if I'll heart it. There you go. That's like a new thing we can do. We can pick the best super chats. So I just thought of that now. So anybody, I'll just heart everybody's right now. We'll see who can get a heart. There you go. It's a new feature that YouTube has employed, so that's kind of cool, actually. It's also a good way for me to keep track of which was my last super chat I read, so I don't miss them like I do sometimes. But anyway, super chat in. We want to hear your thoughts on this one. This is a lot of people love it. A lot of people think it's okay. We want to hear your thoughts. And we have a new poll up as well, which you should go vote on. The new poll is this the best episode of this season? Yes, but overall best. Close, but not quite. Nah, not the best. Best of both seasons. Oof.
No.
There you go.
Go bold. Vote now. Yep. And then what's next? Oh yes, next is the
battle plan.
Oh yes. We can hear them, you know.
For Black Ops, they're a little loud, but yeah, he's got orders for his entire outfit to go in and take care of things, essentially. They're going to locate the generals and take the generals out and try to cut this thing off at the head, essentially. And all they need is meat for the grinder, to which the troops come out wearing red on their armor. I was like, that's funny. Red shirts for the win.
Yeah.
And it's the kid. He's like, I'm back.
I'm back.
My platoon's leading the charge. I have to go in, essentially. He's like, no, I can put you on convalescence. You can stay here. You shouldn't be out there. But I don't question orders. I'm going to go. And he's like, okay, just keep your goddamn head down. It's a suicide mission, essentially. So.
I did think, though, he's got a hole in his chest still, you know. They've got no regenerators, so that this guy
They got dermal regenerators, because that's the heart thing. Yeah,
okay.
They don't have organ regenerators.
Okay.
That's the difference. Because he does call in the dermal team right after the heart massage.
Still probably a weak heart, though. Now, I will say this is where I thought this was going somewhere different, because the tonal change from the previous two scenes with this scene, I was... let's go, guys, if you agree. I was half convinced that he was doped up on that 12 drug, or like something close, because his demeanor is now... Not remotely, he's not the same actor, right? And that came from nowhere to me, so I thought he's drugged up. He's being influenced. You know, everyone gave him adrenaline, everyone gave him speed, everyone gave him cocaine. They're all just going in. That's what I took from him.
I didn't think that at all.
Okay.
What bothered me was when he said, I'm a soldier, Doc. This is what I do.
That's what I mean.
A minute ago, during the conversation, you were like, you joined to explore.
That's what I mean. It seemed very unjustifiable, the personality change. That's one I thought.
That's just that military mentality of I gotta go with my unit. I gotta do my thing. I gotta follow my orders.
But he didn't have that in the last two scenes. That's what I mean.
Yeah. And Jill says, "How about worst of both seasons as an option?" To which Bambolko McLeod agrees.
Oh.
So, Threefold Path though throws in a £5 super chat. Thanks so much. I think both Klingon actors have been fantastic this season. It is almost like they made a special effort to make up for Discovery. Oh, absolutely. I'm hearting that one. That's a good one.
And you know, and we said to them, in my voice, Jesus Christ, we said to them, you know, don't let Discovery be the anchor that takes Klingons away from Star Trek. They're such a good thing, and both Klingons have done a really good job with. Both thematically, being a bit different, being conventional. Don't limit yourself in your Klingon stories. They are the most interesting, normal race that you can go, because you've done all the main stories. Going to the side stories, going to the ambassador and captain in the middle of war that is fun. Like, these are things you haven't necessarily seen per se. No, I liked it. And
Lesser Logic makes a good point. He doesn't want to let down his unit. Yeah, exactly. And that's another trope that not a trope. It's a fact that you see a lot of times in MASH and stuff, where these young kids think it's their duty, then they don't want to be the one that's left behind at the hospital and letting everybody else down, and they end up getting killed as a result. It happens all the time in real warfare, so I get it, but at the same time, It's one of those things, right?
My only note on that would be, he's not well. Is that not a risk to the contingent to have someone in a more weakened state?
It's a liability.
It's a liability.
Yeah,
Just
it is
saying.
a little bit.
It's a small thing.
But I understand the mentality.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want to let all my friends down. If all my friends were doing something, and I chose to be lazy, lay on the couch.
It just seems like such a character change. Like I said, I was very interested if there was a drug aspect, because I would totally believe it. That because the way the Andorian guy felt, he could absolutely have, found the thing in the database, but it's incomplete. So he made a half-cocked recipe. Like
I would have loved to have that aspect later with the dead bodies. If Mbunga checked, and he was actually influenced by that.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty impactful.
So that's just a small thing, but I thought that, which would have been interesting. I mean, it's like I say, war changes people. That's the vibe. Also, briefly, people complaining. I think it's great. They're using the proper deltas, not the discovery deltas. Guys, come on, it's fine. Retcon. It's all good. And then
They're fixing their fuck ups.
Yeah, it's fine. Again, it's only 1-2 seasons of Trek, 20 episodes. There's so much other stuff with this other stuff. But then you get Chapel and Spock, and boy is he trying. He even goes in informal mode by slightly leaning. He's trying so hard. All you feel is sorry for him. I don't feel bad. I don't feel like she's mean. She just can't deal. She can't process. They're not together. But no one's a winner here. And he just logically says, well, away from me, from everybody, goodbye, see you later.
He kind of guilt trips her. Yeah, she's like, I want some time away. He's like, I understand you want time away from me, and walks away.
But it's true. It's logical. It's very honest statement. It's just truth. Well,
the truth is, she doesn't want to be around anybody. She wants time to herself.
Yeah, he's one of everybody.
He puts that guilty spin on it, and he singles himself out in his comment. He says, "You require personal time away from me," and then he walks away. That is pack your bags. We're going on a guilt trip, if I've ever heard one.
Well, how many other people has she talked to this episode? She's already thrown all of the extras out of the scenes. She's not talked to anybody. He's the last person to set to throw out.
DRT is king. $5.
There you go.
This episode was better, in my honest opinion, than the last 2 episodes. Wow. Tomorrow was the best episode of this season.
The last one was so good.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
You can't get more tonally different, but it was so good. And then you get back to the battle, and this is the, needs of the many possible saves versus the needs of the one. Oh, yeah, Claire, how isn't it? Good, he gets a second cameo.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that she doesn't register what's happening, because she's like, we could do this. Great, do it. Doesn't even think. Yep. Several days ago, I'm assuming. Then it all slows down. Oh, no.
And I love how Mbonga's just like, button. Gotta do what you gotta do. And what a peaceful way to go for that guy in the transporter buff.
Yeah.
He gets beamed, and then he's just gone. It wouldn't be peaceful because he was very injured, but he had damage to all internal organs, they said. So it's like,
that'd be a hard one to fix. I mean, and editing-wise, he does it, it feels like doesn't even think. Not in a mean way, just he knows the choice to make, he does it, moving on. Because every second they're not beaming in, how many times on Stargate SG-1 is there a firefight on the side of the gate, and the dialing, or something's happening that we need to get through now, every second someone get killed, there's that vibe. Moving on.
It's the same thing with MASH. You got somebody on life support, but you need the beds for the people that are coming in that you can help and actually save, and that happens a lot of time. You got to take them off life support. You got to get them. You're sentencing them to death essentially. But as a doctor, that's part of the triage. Help who you can. It's shitty, but it's a truth in war. So. And
then of course the visual is paid off even further by seeing then 4 names appear instantly. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. We instantly get rewarded for that moment, etc. And how many other people might have been saved? And you feel that weight on his face, but there's a certain acceptance of reality that he has, where he's not pained by it. He's just, it's this thing he's done, and he's gonna help who he can after, because you can't dwell on the death. You got to dwell on the life, right? Who you're saving. So it's a very interesting. But I mean, being a doctor's shitty, right? like especially surgeons that on a war. It's not a fun thing. This is why Ortega's as him is fascinating because she's doing the piloting. It's abstract. That's why in Keely and the Trekyards, she's a pilot. Like she still sees the destruction more than most, but she's not viscerally seeing the blood. He can't stand away from it in any meaningful way. Like this next scene, he can't stand away from it. He's actually got to put on a robe with no underwear, of course, and get fighting.
I love how the Klingon's like, I'm more virile than I might appear, and the Klingon owns him. Like you can tell that he's overpowering Mbenga because he's a Klingon warrior. He's still stronger, even though he's got a limp, which he walks away with the cane at the end, which I thought was interesting. But this whole conversation of, look, we both were opposing sides on the battlefield. If you come and help me, if you come with me to do this tour, it would be very impactful. Like we were direct enemies in combat. Come and join me. And Mbenga's like, I'm not really interested. Sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's an interesting scene because it again does layers, and Mbenga knows beyond all else has to keep his shit together, and he doesn't take any of the excuses to punch him. He entirely stays in the martial art form the whole time. There's no break from that. As does the Klingon, all credit to him. But yeah, once he's pushed,
I do like the line. You want to be my friend? He's like, no, we don't have to be friends, just allies, because I'll be very powerful. That's a great line.
But you do get that sense, like I said earlier, he is using Mbenga. It's a mutual using, right? Like peace is good, but it's like I'm sales pitching, right? That's all this is. He doesn't know anything more than you're some guy that was there. There were loads, right? So there's a disconnect. But Mbenga, the most personal thing possible. You're the one that made me a disgusting human being that I've never lived, I've never changed from. Like that darkness. Yeah, that thing. That's you, 100% you, right?
And then he even goes to say, "You against 3 Klingon warriors, impressive. Who fought the hardest?"
And briefly, I just want to finish, but I just had a side comment.
Sorry.
For you. So I just said, yeah, he made him that monster, but it isn't just that, actually. It's that the modicum of the butcher of that planet was leveled on this guy, who Mbenga obviously knows, which means that he's not hearing General, he's hearing himself. So every time he hears this story about the butcher, in any normal war, that wouldn't be the case. It would just be, he killed 3 Klingons. But because the context was shift to being internal fight, and Mbenga hears the butcher. The violence that is normally war is put into this entirely different context that he shouldn't be forced to live with. So he's fighting this. He's very interesting psychology. It's gone beyond where it should have been. How many Klingons has he killed normally? Loads. It's not a problem. This one situation has resonated in a way that he can never have hoped of. If he just killed the general, it would have been entire general staff were killed by unknown assailant.
Yeah.
There'd be nothing there, right? So that just occurred to me. That's a really interesting parallel there. And then continue. The next bit's really important.
Yeah, with who fought the hardest, and he says a name. You guys think about it, and you see some flashback scenes, some good Klingon fights, actual Klingons looking like Klingons, Klingon daggers. And then yes, I did it for the nameless, to stop the butchery of the civilians and anyone that wasn't a Klingon warrior. He's like, oh, you did it for the nameless, did you? Okay. Yeah. Knowing the context of it is way different watching it the second and third time, so yeah.
Yeah, and the way he's prodding, but very gently. Watching the guy be like, what were the names again? Yeah, yeah, because he's giving the guy a chance to be honest. I do think if he'd confessed, it would have entirely changed the episode. It would have been a case of the respect at what the general's doing is there for the peace of the Federation, right? That can't be denied. It's that he's lying and being a coward about the truth to take credit for it. There's layers of cowardice that he's not appreciating. The character flaws in this character, that's what he's judging as being, this guy's not worth bringing back to the light because he's using this darkness to fund it, right? There's some fun psychology there. I want to highlight as well. You talk about the flashbacks. I love the fact that it's just this abstract fight that you can still think of as being just like the random room. It kind of works well. If you slow it down, you can see the Klingons are real Klingon, but 2, they aren't hiding. it's clearly Mbenga's uniform. Like, it's revealed. There is this. You got it. There's this flashback. It's him. So if your brain notices that, the twist's ruined because they don't shy away from the truth of the scene. They show it. And first time it's just blur. Second time I absolutely saw it because I knew it was there. So brave of them to show like it's not a Klingon. Like I thought like the glove. I noticed black gloves. I'm like, is that Klingon? Black gloves? Really? That's not really like you have fingerless gloves with points. That's not. So I did slightly sense that first time. Same time's even more powerful. Yeah. Then he almost wins.
Sonic.
Almost punches him. Kind of surprised he didn't. The adrenaline of the war, etc. And goes away. Oh dear. And then yes, naked and Mbenga. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you've always been wanting.
Sonic shower flashbacks to children being brought in, the special ops team or the black ops team being brought in dead, and of course the young guy that went out. This is where we hear they're killing entire families. They're killing everyone at this point. If they're not a Klingon warrior, they're not one of us. Kill them all. Was the order.
Yeah, this is that off a slope part of the episode. Now it just becomes dark, horrible, war, kill, massacre. You know?
Yeah.
It's all from this point onwards.
And we get number one saying, listen, we got the morale on the ship sucks. This is a good episode for number one. She actually does what a first officer should be doing. The morale on the ship sucks. We need to get him off the ship. Here's a shortcut through one of the nebulas.
And it's right in neutral zone as well. And they picked him up at the Klingon border.
Yeah.
Or going to the Klingon border. Oh, wow.
It's not fair to ask the people that have been through all this to deal with this to just let it go. They can't do that. And I love Pike's argument. You know, everybody's entitled to change. Starfleet believes in second chances. But it's like, yeah, at the end, he relents and says, yes, let's take the shortcut.
Yeah, ballsy. It is admitting defeat.
Essentially, yeah.
And it's played for that sort of that punch. But speaking of punch, guys, we're getting close to the end. Some super chats would be great to punch up the support. A couple of fives would be phenomenal, or like 120. I mean, we'll bump it up. No, good scene for sure. Then you see the
and hit like let's get to 100 likes.
That too. Then you see Rambo. It's a good Mbenga Rambo. He's grenading. He's all the things. I love the dagger. It was dramatic. He's like, yeah. Well, and she says like we're leaving, right? The war's over. Like we lost. We're leaving, right? This has gone shitty. Even though we killed the general, yeah, we're leaving. Oh no, you're going in and no, he's killed the general. Oh yeah, now we're gonna go swap it. I kind of don't buy though the fundamentals of that an entire strike team got massacred and some guy could kill everybody, because there's going to be bigger security on the general and the captains given they just got attacked. They've all got disruptors.
They're all generals. They're all generals. They're all warlords.
No, I mean they're going to have troops around them, right? Like they're going to have security, so there's going to be at least 10 guards, 2 captains and a general, if not more helpers and whatever, all with disruptors. I don't buy that he could get in. Otherwise, he's like John Wick. And
that's the point. He took the Protocol 12.
Yeah, but that's not phaser help. That's physical combat. Like, doesn't matter how fast. Doesn't matter how like I'm a bit faster. Like I've got 45.
Well, he probably used phasers to get in, and then took out the generals with hand-to-hand combat.
I know that's implied, but I don't know if a dread would be faster at shooting. I don't know. It's just some guy, right? It didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he goes.
Oh
dear.
Oh dear. Yes, the confrontation. It's like, oh, my time on the ship's cut short. I won't have as much time to get to know you as I wanted to.
Fuck off.
Yeah, and I love that. It's like, please leave me alone. He even does this. He's like, oh, I'm gonna.
Yeah, before we get into the meat of this scene, it's again second time the scene's entirely different. The dread factor's real because, of course, he has the knife, right? Is that premeditated murder? Maybe. But, as you say, the Klingon came to him. The Klingon did not leave, not once. not twice, 3 times asked, extremely politely, and Benga is an absolute... I mean, you give him all the credit in the world for trying, right?
Yeah.
But the Klingon does not know the truth, so he's playing it way more like, you're some guy, hey, help. And the power dynamic, and then of course he reveals and it gets more dark. But the knife is there, but I could see him just like, I hate my life, here's the knife, I don't think he was gonna go and take it and stab the guy, like...
No, he was just reminiscing. He was just like... he was not intending to kill him at all.
No. But there's that odd stuff, it's there. But yeah, Clone came to him, like, and he kept trying. All sincerity to him, man.
Well, you got to understand both points of view, because it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because the guy does want to be helpful. He does want to just have him bang a joke with his peace talks. And then when he finds out that he was in fact the butcher of Jagal, it's like, all this time he didn't say anything. And then the tone shifts. It's like, oh shit, you know about my lie. You know that this is all based on a lie. This whole thing that I got going on. Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, he's so genuine. Like, dude, help. Let's be a team together. And then yeah, it shifts. And now, even though I don't believe from the scene that the Klingon wanted to hurt M'Benga, I don't believe that from his perspective here. But it goes from being help, maybe friend, but not, to help, I'm desperate, shit, I have a reason to act emotionful versus clinical, hence the grapple, maybe not grapple. But yeah, escalations. He does try to not have him be here, but he does go to the knife. He does go to the box. As soon as he goes to the box, now you know he's like, I could kill this guy.
But then he turns around, then the hand on the shoulder, and then we see it from outside the room, so we don't know exactly what happened.
But he does open the box. He has gone from now I could kill this motherfucker, or as you wouldn't open the box. So
yeah,
he does, but he's pushed 3 times, right? I mean, you know, if you
a lot of people on my first reaction live speculated that it was in fact the ambassador that brought the knife, because it didn't look like M'Benga took the knife out of the box, so it's another knife. But then later we see it on the screen with all the Klingon DNA that proves it's the same knife that was used in the massacre.
There's another giant element here, though, that I don't know if anyone said yet. Not just with the knife. In M'Benga's knife box, there's a Section 31 phaser.
Oh my god.
So...
Don't.
Section 31 officer, because that's...
Don't bring him bang into Section... Fuck.
That's the phaser. So here's a souvenir. He has a green vial of the drug, he has some green rocks, he has a bloody knife, and a Section 31 phaser. So this guy was a Section 31 operative. Confirmed. Like...
Stupid.
There you go. What do you think, guys? Did you notice the phaser? Because it's... You know, it didn't have to be there.
Or Scottish Nightmare says Chapel killed him. No, because you see her come in, look, and then you see the death blow where he falls, and then you see Chapel run over to where M'Benga is standing. So she couldn't have killed him.
Yeah, that's not remotely in question.
No.
But it is a very interesting scene. I have subsequently read an interview, and they did film an actual murder ending. And we'll film several. And they went for this entirely vague one, because what I take from it, and you see what you think in a second as well, I took it as it looks like a grapple to me, entirely the grapple moves they were doing earlier, so neither are aiming for a fight, but you never see any even hint of who grabbed a knife. It's just there's not even, suddenly there's a knife. So I don't even think...
They don't even go near the table. It's not like they struggle and bang up against the table for a second and then move to the room and then fall.
It feels like very much that sort of storyline of, look, he's dead. How? Like, these filmmakers need you to not...
I think they want to leave it ambiguous.
So ambiguous, even though, like you said, there's no... Unless he had the knife already, which he didn't. And also, grapple isn't fighting. The Klingon could punch him, and could punch him. There's not the same thing. And being grappled is not being assaulted in the same way, since you sparred with it earlier. And suddenly he's been stabbed. I mean, I know it's ambiguous, but he still murdered the guy, like, because he could have, hurt him anywhere. That's a kill blow. He could have stabbed him. If he stabbed him anywhere else, he could have healed him, right? He chose to kill blow him.
Yeah, right through the heart. Yeah, they do make a point of saying that.
Or he's a trained assassin, fine, he'll go to the kill shot, but also don't go to the kill shot. Maybe don't do that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, is Chapel lying? She's kind of shifty looking, but it's not fun to see or talk
Well, it's implied that she saw something that she can't tell Captain Pike. So, but yeah, because of their closeness with her closeness with Mbenga, right?
Because they can't play it genuine, otherwise he didn't do anything wrong. Like, they've got to play it both sides. So she feels dodged to me, but also I'll side with them either way. But it is hard to watch, and the fact, yeah, this is the same knife, the blood, also great render view of the knife. That's really that's a good looking knife. That's a good looking knife.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it goes through all the DNA and confirms that this is the Klingon, the knife.
General Gravel.
Yeah.
Dear me.
Ambiguous or ambiguous?
I also thought that joke, yeah.
That's funny. Well.
I kind of wish that Arn was more present in this scene, because, like, this is a murder under her watch. Why were there no guards monitoring the Klingon, first of all? Why were there no guards monitoring Mbenga, knowing the situation? That's on her.
Why were there no guards following Boimler around last episode?
That's on her.
Before we move on, Sergeant Montgomery Mako throws in $5. Starfleet isn't all nebulas and new life forms. I appreciate showing the darker side of life and how it affects the human condition. PTSD is real. 8 out of 10. Yes, I know PTSD is real. My dad has it from being a paramedic for 36 years. A lot of times if he's out in public at a restaurant or something, he's a baby crying, it just sets him off. Because how many accident sites was he at where babies were crying and he lost a baby, you know? So, yeah, I know PTSD is real. People don't have to keep telling me that. I'm aware.
But it's definitely a scene of you know, I guess we punish him? Do we not? It was, I guess, there's a scuffle, and it's a bit of a, you know,
I like Pike's reaction. I can't believe the ambassador would have done that, because he only saw like the nice side of the ambassador, right? And Chapel says you never know what's in somebody's heart, which is true 100% at the time. But I love Pike's, and then he goes to Mbenga and says, you know, we've been friends for a really long time. If something happened, you can tell me, and we'll work together to figure it out. Like if he didn't attack you first. Because that's what it is. This is self-defense at this point. And I didn't start the fight, Chris. It's like, okay, take your word for it. I don't know if I believe you, but we'll take your word for it.
Yeah, and I kind of was expecting, because this brief room scene, it also reveals Mbenga is the story murderer. So he got through these many lines of defense. He killed these generals. He bested Klingon generals. Really hard. I mean, okay, fine, the guy from Sergeant 5, they're not all the best trained, right? Some get old and fat, fine, whatever. But, like, these should be super, super clever. So Pike, I was expecting Pike to say, I'm shocked that Mbenga could flat out just be a cold-blooded stabber. Right? Like, assassin, right? And then, yeah, I love this scene in sick bay. It's really, I mean, Mbenga's acting is so intricately simple. He's not giving anything away, because he knows he did wrong. But did he?
Well, I think he finished what he set out to do originally. Because in the scene confronting him, he's like, Jesus. I looked for you, and now here you are.
In my sick bay.
After you've pushed me. And then he yells at him and says, you gave the order that no one was to be left alive except for Klingon warriors.
He has nothing to say about that. He's like, I did.
Yeah, and that's when he says to Pike here, he says, what if I told you he was murdering children? Not his generals, but himself. Would that make it any different?
Although we have no corroboration that happened. I don't necessarily get the sense he did that. I thought it was in the big the general site. But this is a really good conversation. I do think Mbenga's lying, but not lying about what he's saying. I think it happened differently than they're projecting it. I think they're trying to cover his ass, but I think he did not start the fight, but he actively, once the fight started, he was going to kill the guy. So he did not start. That's why he doesn't say at the end. It's like, I didn't start the fight, but I'm glad he's dead. Both are true, but he should have added, and I also murdered him in cold blood after that, because the guy's old and he was barely weathering. I stabbed him, I twisted the blade, and like.
It's interesting they sparred, because it kind of would give Mbenga a feel for how he fights.
Oh, yeah.
And he would go into it having that knowledge and advantage, right? So
Yeah. And yeah, Pike is like, punish? No? Okay, what do I do? Yeah.
Oliver Lavery Farag throws in £10.
Oh!
Don't worry, Mbenga isn't a part of Section 31. It's from a Section 31 officer he killed. It's a box of trophies. Yeah, starting to see why he isn't on the Enterprise when Kirk is captain. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the good news in this whole episode is that now BioBed 2 is working again. Although some things never get fixed back to the way they were, and then we get a system alarm, like it's going to malfunction again.
A red alarm. A red alarm.
Just like his psyche.
Yes. But Bam Bolko says, I don't get how this could be self-defense if Mbenga has a weapon. The Klingon was unarmed.
Good point.
Especially an old guy doing grappling.
But the problem is, I mean, Klingons are inherently stronger than humans by quite a bit, so it is still a threat. If somebody's larger than you and they utter a death threat, then they can be charged for that because they can physically harm you if you're like. So that's a sticky spot right there, just to start with. But yeah,
it would have been different, and this is all very intentional, right? The vagity. If it's in any indication that the Klingon punched, then it's self-defense. A grapple is not trying to hurt you, right?
Yeah. And no Klingon is ever unarmed. I love that. Never. You make a good point there as well, which I thought of. But again, he's an ambassador, and he was very genuine in his approach. You would detect a weapon in transport. It's one of those things, right? You're not quite sure.
Yeah, and Ben could call security. Yeah, but he wanted to kill the guy. Like, it's a multi-level thing. Yep. He wanted to kill him, but he didn't want him to die. He wanted him to do good, but wanted him to suffer. All the things he wanted, right? All of them.
If Mbenga felt his life was in danger, then it's self-defense. And you're absolutely right about that, yeah. A person doesn't have to be armed necessarily to warrant self-defense.
But the fact that we saw him win against him in the final match showed that he's a match for him. That's intentional, right? Two times versus one, win versus lose. Again, it's played for vague. We can't take either side because it's not meant to be.
Ooh. Joe 47. Bab's acting was incredible, but now the character is ruined. Yes and no. There's two sides to that as well.
I did say that in our editor review. Like you know, poor TOS actor who played it as a nice doctor, and now we know he's a mass murderer. Like, oh. You know what I mean? It's like,
But he's a mass murderer under the Cloak of War, which makes it...
Yes. Well, yeah, it's war versus assassin, right? He went and assassinated some people. It's a little bit different, but it's not really. Yeah, like...
The point is, this is one of those typical Star Trek morality plays where there's no right answer. And...
Yeah.
You just kind of have to go...
I mean, guys... Like, I like the character less now for his morality, but Worf went to Durst's ship, stabbed him in the chest.
Yeah.
And yet we don't hate Worf more. It's almost the exact same thing, right? There's a lot of parallels there.
And that's not ambiguous. He did that, and Picard confronted him about it.
Yeah.
It's not like, was it self-defense? No, he went and threw a batleth in his chest.
In honorable combat. But,
well, yes.
But from our context, it's very close to the same thing. Yes, it's not killing your wife, but 500 civilians is you know, pretty bad. So...
Matthew DeFridas, $2. Got to run. 9 out of 10 for my score. Okay. Well, it's good you did that because we're at that point.
Yes.
We're going to ask for people to super chat in with their scores out of 10 for this one. Thank you, Matthew. See you later. Yeah. So hit like if you haven't. Super chat in with your scores out of 10.
Like 4 more 5s would be so lovely.
Yes.
For my throat, guys. My throat. I'm going to buy some loz, you know the word.
Yes. Cough candies for Samuel.
Even easier.
So, yeah, please do all the things. And if you want to just put your score in the regular chat, please do so. Samuel will read those afterwards. I will read all the super chat scores, though. And we're going to give our final take on this and close out then.
And what do you think then? And has this review changed your opinion? Because we've had a pretty big discussion. Because scene by scene, no one does that. It's really a useful tool to appreciate episodes. Right.
I appreciate it a lot more just with the layered nuances of everything, actually. It is a good episode. I said that even in our first review. I agree the writing and the acting was phenomenal. I don't like the more dour, dark war episodes of Trek. It's just not my thing. I get that some people really appreciate that. I appreciate it more after talking about it, for sure. Hands down. There's just a lot more nuance here, which when you talk about it and you find out different people's points of view, like everybody in the chat, everybody that super chatted, it's not cut and dry. It's not black and white. It's much more of a, there's more going on here. Like I said, it's one of those Star Trek morality things where there is no right answer, really. So yeah, I appreciate it a lot more. And I think everybody did a fantastic job with it. I wish would have got more Ortigas, but the Klingon guy did a fantastic job, I think. I kind of feel bad for him in a way, because I think he did want to do the right thing, even though he did take on that moniker of the Butcher of Jagal to kind of leverage himself with that. But I do feel bad for the situation for everybody, actually, the Klingon and for Mbenga.
Would you like to see the actor back as a different Klingon?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Me too.
So as for scoring, personal enjoyment for me, like I said, this one's not going to be super high. This is not one I'll seek out to rewatch.
2's enough. I'm done at 2.
Well, yeah, I've seen it 3, and that's enough for me.
Yeah, I'm
done. But when I rewatch Strange New Worlds all the way through, of course I'll watch it. But
what did Sylvia think, actually? I don't really ask, but what did she think?
She wasn't super thrilled about it either. She grew up in Croatia when it was communist and when there was a war going on. So she doesn't really do well with war movies in general. So yeah, it's not her cup of tea for Star Trek either. So fair enough. So yeah, enjoyment wise, out of 10 for me, it's probably going to get a 6, and that's being generous. It was going to be lower, but after we talked about it, I understand. There's a lot more nuance.
We found a lot of layers actually in a lot of these moments. Really, really good.
Like an onion.
It's ugly, makes you cry.
Yeah.
But it's...
The more you watch it, the more you'll get the little things, and kind of, if you look at both sides of the story as well, there's a lot of depth there. For all of New Trek, it's going to get I'll give it a 7.8. There's a lot of thought.
Because if you compare it to Discovery, where it's just mindless action, weird stuff, like the nuance.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance here, and that's the thing.
Oh my god, nothing. Make the Empire great again versus this. Yeah. Jesus Christ, the nuance, right?
For all the Strange New Worlds, though, I'm probably going to give this a 7.2. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. There you go. There's my scores. How about you? What did you think? And was this conversation helpful for you, sir?
It's interesting. I mean, yeah, the few Supercharged guys were really close to the goal. Just saying, really, really close. Yeah, it's, I think we both came in thinking we'd a lot less to talk about, but we sort of skipped over all the war bits to go into the character discussion, nuance bits. That was really engaging. Mm-hmm. Those bits were good, really good, because once you know it, the 2 times really does change the viewing experience. The acting and the writing is what makes a good episode. I don't need the flashback stuff on the planet because it doesn't really work in Trek. The lack of space battles, which didn't mention, but I said that in another review. This needs some space combat to just ground it figuratively in the Trek universe. This is a war zone. All the ships are going to be the main thing that you're fighting. It's ineffective to send troops against a building with, and they don't show any of it to leave that mystery of there's war. Don't think about it, right? We're not going to give any sort of explanation, any sort of logic, any sort of grounding. Again, pun intended there. War, right? There's no thought about what this battle is, what they're doing, what they're trying to do. Yeah, moving on. But it's not about that, and we can ignore it. For that sort of logic. I just like that sort of stuff because he could have done some really fun. Or if this was on a medical ship fighting D7s, like a fleet battle, you could have had some really nice stuff there. But yeah, like I said, 2 is enough. I don't see myself having to watch it ever again necessarily. I've learned what I need to learn from it. Mm-hmm. The Klingon was fantastic again. It wasn't boring the second time because I was looking every scene with him, the Klingon, for the second nuance. So that was good. But the third time now I know what I've seen, right? So I didn't need a third time. Two was good. But the thing is, most of Strange Worlds is well written to me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that bar is already so high. That isn't enough to save it. Story-wise, it's a super simple story. I mean, so simple, right? But it's the intensity of the actors that take us through those moments. But again, the acting is normally good in Strange Worlds as well. Score, enjoyment, I'm a little higher than you. I think 6 is for me too low. Because there wasn't anything bad really in it at all. But, we don't like everything.
It's like the way I felt after watching it. So.
Yeah, and
that makes you think. So
some people don't like time travel episodes of Star Trek, and for us, they're some of our best episodes. And it's like some of the top ones, right? And it's like, if you don't like them, that's great. Good for you. Don't judge me for not liking these super hardcore, slightly logical war things that don't quite feel Star Trek in the same way. That, fine. Time travel could be bullshit, doesn't make sense, too silly, right? It's fine. Don't judge for personal preference. Like, some people don't like love stories. That's okay. This is very genre specific, right? Very, very that specific. So, like the musical, right? We might get like 4s next week because we don't like musicals. And that's fine. Personal preference, right? Score-wise, though, I'm happy to give it a 7. Just 7. Still pretty, I like a lot of character stuff. All new Trek, again, beats most Discovery. It's maybe not as fun to watch, but a lot of that's like dislike watch versus sad watch. And this is just better crafted. And for a much lower budget. They're not throwing money at effects, despite a lot of space battle, but they didn't do that here. So, all new Trek, I think you obviously gave high. I'm going to give 7.4 for all new Trek. I think, a lot of just more fun.
I got to count all of Lower Decks and Prodigy and New Trek. So, a lot of those are way better than this.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Strange New Worlds, again, the bar's quite high. I think this is more sophisticated than a lot of Season 1, which now feel more vanilla in comparison. I always think the Shepard episode, that's the one I don't like as much. I'm going to go again a 7. I can't go lower than 7s, but I'm not excited by it. I think for me 7's very fair. It's not the worst of the season. And it's not the best.
Cool.
There you go.
Let's get into some of these super chats. Metallica fan 1442, member for 25 months at the rank of lieutenant. Says calling him a mass murderer is a bit extreme. He was following orders in a war. Would you call World War II soldiers mass murderers? The problem is they were ordered to leave. And that's when he went over the wire to get personal revenge or just take out all these people that are basically genociding everybody. So he wasn't following orders. He went AWOL. So it is kind of, I wouldn't say mass murder, though. It's a little...
Well, if you kill 10 guards to get the 2 generals...
It's still not mass murder.
It's more than 2 people.
60 or more people.
Well...
It's... Anyway, whatever. A murderer, fine. So I kind of just... thing that's not at all the same. If you disobey orders and go behind enemy lines and start taking everybody out... That's kind of rogue. That's not good.
I assume you'd get in trouble for doing that.
Psychological problem there.
I assume you'd get court-martialed, even if it ended up helping the war. You
Yeah,
might get a ribbon
exactly.
and a court-martial. I think that has happened before. And, he definitely wasn't a soldier in a war. He stabbed a guy in the heart on his ship in his sick bay who was unarmed. Definitely murder in that scene.
Sure.
Even for self-defense, still murdered the guy. Could have hurt him to stun him. And could have walked away. Could have stabbed his leg, walked away. No problem.
DRT is king, $2, 8.5 out of 10. Better than Season 2, Episode 4 through Episode 7. Wow. Disagree, but there you go.
Oh, 7, yeah, 7's way better. I'm trying to think which number that was.
Threefold Path throws in £5. 6 out of 10 for me. Really like the Klingon and on the ship stuff, but was not a fan of the dark, cheap bits on the planet. Yeah. Metallica fan 1442, £2, 9 out of 10. Great episode. Verpine, $5. 8 out of 10 for overall quality, but 6 out of 10 for my enjoyment. Fair. Ervik Sonder, $2. I give this 6. the North Face tents. Okay. Sean T, $5. Trek needed this episode as much as this episode needed Trek. 8.5 out of 10. Oh, I disagree with all that. This could have been any episode of anything. There's nothing Trek related in it.
Could have been
at all.
BSG, could have been Babylon 5, could have been Stargate.
Yep, could have been anything. It's a war story. You don't need Star Trek in it. Patrick James, $10. I must admit, I liked this show. Had to watch it twice to get all the dialogue. The Doctor's soft voice is hard for my old ears to comprehend, but that is on me. It's also on a lot of other people. They say the same thing. It's hard to understand him. Plus, his accent doesn't help. But
that's the character voice as well. That's his choice.
Yeah. Patrick James, $5. I would give it a 7.8 out of 10. Okay. And Grant McGregor, $10. Ortigas was written like her behavior is going to get red-shirted or discharged from Starfleet. Like Kirk might just take her off the bridge and get Sulu to replace her. 8 out of 10. That's fuzz. Wow. I also want to read Lesser Logic's thing, who said, I always appreciate the episodes more after these breakdowns. Thank you. Usually we do as well. We go in with our own mindsets. As we talk about it with each other, it's surprising how different we think about things sometimes. And your input also is very welcome, all of you guys out there. So it's a community discussion. It's not just us in a vacuum preaching that we don't like it or we love it, you know?
I mean, very active chat, and we love that sort of thing. Yeah. Because, like we said, even with, in Discovery, where the plots often were not very good, scenes could be amazing, moments can be amazing, acting can be amazing. If how do you summarize a 3-hour film, a 2-hour film in a 1-sentence review? You're removing all the nuance, and we have found for years now that somehow 20 to 40 minutes it becomes 2 hours of conversation if you take it scene by scene, and taking it for all it's worth in terms of content. It's a really fascinating format that we've this is a deep dive, and you see things you notice and you appreciate. Like, one line you can talk about for 10 minutes, right? One line.
Yeah,
it's happened.
If you want the simplistic, I hate this, it sucks one-line things, go to Doom Dick or Nerdrotic or any of those guys. That's kind of what they do. So
if they even do it anymore, I don't know. Don't follow them. But guys, we are $1.50 away from the final goal. I'm not even joking. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And 2 likes away from 100. So hit that like button if you haven't.
And I do commend them in all the strongest ways. They've done a lot of tones this year, a lot of vibes, a lot of ideas. It's lower budget with less big things, and I think that's all the better for it, because you learned a lot about Mbenga, learned a lot about Chapel in this. At least felt it. We knew all the information, but at least you felt it, etc. But yeah, there's also smaller stories with a single guest star who's very good on established things, and you put some money in, because those tents, like, you build one set.
We gotta wrap this up, though.
Yeah. So, good for them. Do more of these. Season 3, Season 4, go for it.
Patrick James, $50 super chat. Thank you. Amazing. I fixed my truck, and I need to celebrate with someone.
Okay, everyone say well done.
Celebrate with us.
Chat right now. Everyone say well done, Patrick. And I'll finish
I'll go read
as
some
well.
of those non-super chat scores real quick.
Poll first. Is the best episode of this season? 40% close, but not quite. 30% nah, not the best. 19% yes, the best. And 4% best of both seasons. So actually, no, not the best. Interesting.
Cool. Eric Martin, $5. Happy Friday. Thank you, Eric.
Friday indeed. Okay, your non-super scores, of course. What do you guys say? We've got a 4 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 9.3 out of 10, 8.8 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 7.5, 7.5, 9.5 from Aussie, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 8.5, 7, 10, 10, 8.5, 8. That is a lot of variable scores, Stuart. That must be the most varied of the season so far.
Jill throws in $2 or $1.50 and says with a nope. Okay. And Grant McGregor throws in $5. Just want to point it out there to the producer who thinks people liking this dark episode, there should be more dark episodes like this. No.
I mean, it was very much a character piece, right? You told that story. I don't want to see the Arn version, personally. Yeah. Probably going to, that's okay. But yeah, thanks guys so much for being here, making episode pretty big and bold. Join us next week for the musical episode. All the question of how they're going to do that. That should be exciting. Wish me luck. I'm doing my next Trek short shoot on Monday for the secret project. That'll be very interesting. I'm going to try and do it with my not feeling great. We'll see how I recover. So hopefully recover really quickly. Looking forward to that. Very tiring 2 days.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for
watching. We'll catch you later. Until next time, he's Commander Calkins.
He's got a Foley.
War's bad, okay? Just saying.